In this video, I want to talk all about my hobby resolutions and some new content coming to the channel in 2019. Okay. Welcome Wargamers, my name is Doug with 2+ Stuff, and I don't normally do hobby resolutions because frankly I don't take it too seriously, but this year I want to be far more intentional about what I'm doing and the kind of content that I can produce and get excited about. And so what I'm going to do is list off 4 of my hobby resolutions for the year and then talk about, because of where the channel is growing and things like that, the things that are going to be coming to it very soon. So diving right in, hobby resolution number 1 is to start recording battle reports. The hardest part of doing any kind of new content, whether it was just the lore videos for this channel, anything like that, is starting. And so making the commitment up front to recording a set number of battle reports for the year. If you didn't know, my patrons, who are incredibly supportive, helped me move into a new place this year with a dedicated game room and office, where I was also able to grab a collapsible gaming table and terrain and mats from GameMat.eu, and that's going to start happening. For me personally, kind of with my passion on this channel and things like that, I'm going to be focusing a lot on doing dedicated, like, narrative battle reports, telling immersive stories, where most of the time where you see battle reports, players might create a story for why those two forces are engaging, but the second the game starts, it kind of disappears. And so by that I mean it disappears, like the story arc of part of it kind of goes away and you just start playing the game. So what I want to do is focus on building narrative theme lists and have heroes that have names and character flaws, and those character flaws carry into the table. So for example, if someone's an idiot, they're going to do dumb things in the battle. Choose poor priorities. If they're bloodthirsty, they're going to go into the biggest horde of guys to chop up rather than probably the smartest target, that kind of stuff, to make it more characterful and memorable and a lot of fun. I'll likely start with individual games, kind of getting the hang of editing and all that kind of stuff, and then move into full campaigns, hopefully in a couple months. Keep in mind, this is a new adventure for me. I've been on Rerolling Ones, but I'm not a part of their editing process whatsoever. So I've recorded stuff, but I've never actually put it into a cohesive video. So just like when this channel started, it started off really terrible and incrementally got better. That's exactly what's going to happen with battle reports. So I'll require, positive feedback from you guys and negative, just constructive feedback in order to make things better as I go. Resolution number 2 is to paint 365 models. Now this is an average, of course, of 1 model per day. And I did the math on what I could remember painting in 2018. And the thing is that if you're familiar with the channel, I cycle through armies kind of like most people breathe. And so keeping track of, I can't even remember what I owned in January last year. And that's a problem because I can't measure my growth as a painter, as a player, that kind of stuff. And so what I'm going to do is kind of settle things down and keep a dedicated record of everything that I've painted in 2018, or 2019, I'm sorry, going into this year. So I think the math I did would put me at about 370, but again, I traded so many things off I don't really remember. And so the idea is having a set number, and then I'm going to increase that hopefully every single year. Yeah, I think it's good to have a goal for how many models you paint, because it increases my efficiency when it comes to painting and my ability to get things on the table. And that doesn't necessarily mean models for me. I'll include commissions for that, things of that nature. So I'm very excited for that goal. Resolution 3 is where things get interesting, because one resolution I wanted to do is I want to paint a single army to my highest possible standard. And that is where every model is treated like a hero I do for my Slaves to Darkness, where I put a lot of work, a lot of time into the blending, the highlighting, all those kinds of things. And we'll get to why it's not Beasts of Chaos in a second, but I actually decided to do a 40k army that requires way fewer models than my current Beasts of Chaos. So I went ahead and grabbed the Dark Imperium set and got some Primaris Marines. I'm doing Space Wolves with a Primaris focus in 2019. They're going to be built as a batch, so I can just play whenever I want. They're going to be primed together, but then when it comes to individually painting them, it's going to be 1 by 1 to my highest possible standard. So I'm very excited about that. I kind of went back and forth on which faction to do. Shout out to my good friend Ben, who tolerated me going back and forth a lot. The reason I chose Space Wolves is a few reasons. One, I like Wolfen, and Wolfen are one of the fewer models that has an older sculpt, like from normal Marines, but Wolfen are so big in comparison to normal Space Marines, they don't look out of place in a Primaris army, which is a low model count. It's what I wanted to focus on for my level of painting that I was doing. So I'm very excited about that. In addition, he plays Thousand Suns, and so the Space Wolves make a perfect pairing for him. He's my favorite 40k opponent. I play him probably more than anyone else, so it just seems thematic and super fun. And then for the biggest part of the goal, and this is resolution number 4, and that is, it is the year of the Beast. All of 2019, I'm going to be playing my Beasts of Chaos in vastly different incarnations. Right now I have a rather large horde type collection, a lot of little models, but I'm going to be investing in a whole bunch of heavier beasts and dragon ogres, all those kinds of things. If you are not familiar with me or this channel for a really long length of time, I have a deep passion for Chaos Undivided, where you don't dedicate yourself to a particular god, but you embrace all of it. Now, up till Beasts of Chaos release, the best way to do that was Slaves to Darkness, which I do have an army for, and I have it painted to a great quality. I don't enjoy it because they kind of lack in a lot of areas. They don't have a lot of bite. They just a lot of bodies, so you can play scenarios okay, but people do it better. Other factions do it better. And so when Beasts of Chaos came out, my good friend Brent was clearing out a whole bunch of them, so I picked up his lot. I took them to an event this last weekend in Seattle, and I had more fun in Age of Sigmar than I've had in years. This is truly a fun faction to play. And we're going to go into why in a different video, but I will say that maybe early to mid 2019, I'm going to focus on Beasts of Chaos Allegiance specifically, getting the most out of the Hearthstone and different spells, and kind of building up my my force to build different kinds of lists. And then in the second part of the year, focusing on the battalions that let you take certain Chaos God marks. So I can build a Beast of Chaos list that is dedicated to Tzeentch and use Tzeentch allegiance abilities and things like that. You lose the Hearthstone, but you know, there's stuff you can do there. The idea being it's one army across multiple Grand Alliances, which was always what I wanted to do with Slaves to Darkness, but haven't been able to do as well. One thing I will note is I know there's a rumor coming afloat about Dark Oath or Slaves to Darkness, whatever those two, a Chaos Undivided human faction coming out in 2019, and that's fine. I might build and collect them, but I won't be playing them a ton. Maybe I'll play them on rerolling ones, but for my personal hobby, I want to stick to Beast of Chaos simply because they're already doing the kind of things that I want to do, and I have so much fun with them on the tabletop. Now that's it for the resolutions that I have, but I do want to talk about some new content coming to the channel. As I said, I have a dedicated office room now, I have table and terrain. So as I mentioned before, battle reports are coming to the channel. It's going to take a little bit of time to get used to the editing and recording software, but it is coming and I'm very excited about that. Again, heavy focus on narrative and storytelling rather than tactical gameplay. However, in addition to battle reports, there will be a tactical series. I plan on doing a few different types of tactical stuff. So there's going to be one dedicated exclusively to Beasts of Chaos, because it's an army that can be played in so many different ways. It is truly overwhelming the kind of ways you can play this army. I think having a tactical series where you kind of break them down would be very valuable to many new players. In addition to that, there's going to be a tactical series that focuses on general gameplay. So one thing that I got a lot of compliments on at the last tournament that I went to, I played 3 Stormcast players and every single one of them said the same thing. It's like, you do a great job at zoning me out so I can't come in from the Celestial Realm or Deep Strike, however you want to call it. So a series that focuses on little tactical nuances like that. How do you block your opponent out of areas? How do you get the most out of every charge so that your opponent can't hit you back effectively? Those kinds of things that newer players may not see immediately, but when you draw attention to it, they immediately can increase kind of the quality of their play. That's kind of a general works for any army's tactical stuff. So that's the whole focus there. In addition to that, there's going to be a painting tutorial series, which I already did one, and people seem to generally like it, focusing on doing what I call 3-foot fabulous, if you're new to the channel, which is you hold a model very close to your face and you might see a few minor details that aren't quite right, it's whatever, but most of us don't do that. When we play a game, we put our model on the table and you stand back roughly 3 feet from it, and so does it look good at that distance? When it does, that is what I call a 3-foot fabulous. If a passerby walks by and says, that looks like a really fun game, your models are beautiful, you already won. So friends, those are the kinds of videos coming out this year, as well as my hobby resolutions. If there's something that you would like to see this coming year, go ahead and leave it in the comments down below. If you're looking for a tutorial on something that I've already done, you can find my Instagram account and link below. You just scroll through. If there's any model or effect that you've seen that I've done that you want to learn how to do, I'll do a dedicated video for it, and I'll even give you a shout out in the beginning. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'd love to hear your hobby resolutions for 2019. Do you have goals about painting, building, anything like that? The elusive unicorn goal is that you paint everything you own before you buy more stuff, but no one ever does that. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you real soon.